Hello Smart Movers and welcome to Smart Move Insider, a place where we talk about fitness from within. My name is Sergio alongside head coach Bart, and today we're going to talk about our fundamentals/intro course. Expect to learn a bit of history today about our old ways of doing the fundamental course and after becoming the intro course. Why do we do such a program before joining a class? What is its purpose? Who is it for? And many more. Do you remember the old days and the old ways, what CrossFit used to be? When we just started in 2012, before we had the gym.
How the old days from our side was?
Fitness-wise, how was fitness back then? How were you seen in work class when you were trying to do a combination between barbells and
cardio? Yeah, I was being seen as a crazy person. A friend of mine introduced me to CrossFit and I started doing workouts online, just trying out stuff. So back then in a commercial gym you would just do bench press, 10 reps or 8 reps, rest. Then go to another exercise, do 4 or 5 sets there with a minute rest. But then I started going 400 meters on the treadmill, doing push-ups, doing air squats, running around the gym. So they looked a little bit like I was crazy, and they asked me often that, what are you training for? Like, why are you making training so intense? Chill, it doesn't need to be so hard.
Yeah, I remember the tempo of every rep. You needed to go slow. You shouldn't be in a hurry because you want that eccentric and concentric movement to make the toll on your muscle.
Mind-muscle connection. Feel all the muscle fibers.
So
we're trying to grow.
If you're just doing them to get rid of them, it's not going to work.
No.
And back then, people were not even running in Romania. I don't think in 2012 there were so many joggers. At least I don't remember seeing them.
And so many running competitions as there are now, because now they're all the time. You can sign up for a running competition. I don't remember anymore.
We should ask Horacio from Runners Club. He knows when he established that group of his, when this was.
I just remember in the beginning years when I was here that there were no bicycles on the road. The runners I don't remember, but for sure 100% almost no bicycles.
Yeah.
Yeah, so CrossFit was a bit weird looking from the outside. It's new, moving weights fast for a cardio goal was a bit strange for most people looking at it.
Yeah, so intensity plus weights was already unusual. So in order for somebody to start CrossFit, we need a bit to tell him that your legs shouldn't, I remember when we were doing this, your legs shouldn't be at semi-flexion, so you bend it with the knees while doing the curls. Remember that position of body? When we were doing push press. I want your knees to get straight and go up. So it was a reconfiguration and everything they do, because this was a new sport, was a completely different, and it was very new. In 2000 it appeared in America, and in 2012 it came here. Yeah, so
we started training people outside. In the beginning, when people got added to the group, we would just explain them on the spot what they needed to know for that training. And it worked with the means that we had. We made it work somehow. But then years of training them outside, we got to a community of over 100, and then we decided to open the gym. And then we thought a little bit on what are going to be the best ways to incorporate new people. And we didn't think just teaching you on the spot was going to be very efficient. So we came up with a bit of a intro course. Some call it on-ramp, some call it beginner's course, some call it fundamentals, but basically it all means the same thing. How do I get a new person in my gym ready to start CrossFit? So we thought a bit about how shall we do that, because we saw that other gyms, for example, they would have a bit of like we used to do it when we were outside and not so organized. You can, in a lot of CrossFit gyms, you can just walk in and say, hey, I'm Bart, I want to do CrossFit today. Okay, here, sign the contract, give me the money, and the class is right there. So the benefit of this approach is, from a business point of view, is like, okay, you directly make the sales, you have money in your pocket. Because in sales, obviously, the goal is to convert people and not give them too much time to reconsider. When they're motivated people, they want to start yesterday. The moment, maybe for years they didn't do anything, but the moment they decide to do something, it's going to happen right now. So we need to keep that in consideration. So then this approach is the best. You just take them in and you just figure it out. But we didn't really think that this approach was one that we wanted to follow.
I think one of the reasons was because we did a lot of research. We didn't intend to. We were just listening to podcasts. Still, way back then, 2012, we were still listening to podcasts to other successful gyms, how they were doing things. And if we see somebody that we like, we were trying to look more into it and how they did things. So basically, we knew about I just come in, put me in the class. And then we heard about the on-ramps that were different lengths, but they were preparing their people for the classes in some ways. Some were doing a week or two, even 6. And then we just thought a bit about it and we see, okay, which one do we want to adopt? And I think both of our natures are organized and we want it to be structured, so we end up with the fundamental course. Do you remember how was the first fundamental course, how long it was, and all the details?
It was 4 weeks, 3 times a week, and then 2 weeks you would go to the regular class.
So 6 weeks in total.
So you had a period of 6 weeks to decide if CrossFit is for you or not. So in the first 4 weeks, 3 times a week, I don't remember Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I don't remember the days. I do remember because it was every day, because we had 100 people, and basically every class, the schedule was full in the evening. Every class was a fundamentals class. I think we split them in 4 groups, and then
4 groups.
We made sure that everybody had 3 days a week that they came in and trained, and to prepare them a little bit for the normal classes. From the 100 people we had, 75% at least used to train with us already outside. So you could have said that these guys already know what they're doing, but we still wanted to refresh their mind and put them through the same course as somebody that's completely new to it. Because when we were training outside, as I said, we were just teaching them on the spot, move per move, but without going very into detail. And in a fundamentals course, we would go very much into detail on an air squat, for example. Feet go there, knees go there, hips go there, like body part per body part. And maybe when we were doing outside, we would go much faster through it and would just not teach them, but we would directly start coaching them. Like, okay, let's see how an air squat looks like. Okay, feet a bit wider. Okay, now hips back, and say, okay, keep doing it like that. We would never go in detail on the why and the how as we do in a fundamentals course.
So basically people that were coming 3 years or even more, they were put through a fundamental course where we did just this for 4 weeks. 12 sessions, if I remember right, of 1 hour, with 9 fundamental movements and a few extra ones.
Yeah, we had quite some moves. So we took the moves a little bit in the 9 fundamental moves, like in the level 1, CrossFit level 1 they go through. So it's a bit more in movement patterns. So we took the squat patterns, air squat, front squat, overhead squat. We took some hinge patterns, deadlift, sumo deadlift, high pulls, kettlebell swings, and we went through the presses, strict press, push jerk. I'm not sure if we did that already back then, maybe not.
I think just push press.
Push press, yeah, and we teach them the push jerk later on. Well, because the goal of the fundamentals course is not necessarily that you're going to learn all the moves in CrossFit, because there are so many, but by learning you the 9 fundamental movements, if you know them, new movements will most likely be based on those. Like, for example, an overhead squat is part of the snatch. The hip hinge on a deadlift, you will also see it on the clean, that type of hip hinging and extending. The same with the sumo deadlift high pull, extending your legs and then your arms. It will happen on clean and snatch as well. So if you learn the basic idea in the foundational movements, it will help you learn the movements that you don't know yet easier. So a lot of people think when they come into a fundamentals or an intro course that I'm going to learn everything there and then I'm going to be good. No, you're going to still learn a lot of things in the class, and all coaches and people that have been doing this for years are still learning new stuff and learning how to do the stuff they know better, so it never kind of stops.
This is one way to look at it. People that are thinking that I'm going to learn everything, but we have the other side of the camp that are thinking I know already how to move. Why am I still need to do this fundamental movement? I know how to squat. I know you know. I just want to make sure. So in the fundamental course, I remember that we were constructing a solid base of movement on which we can build the next phase of movement more explosively and under intensity. We wanted to create a few small wins with some easy workouts, easy movements. So when we're gonna get the extra push of the pedal, for you to be able to do it and not just collapse.
Yes, we had that reaction, yeah, because those 75% of people, they've been training with us for years outside every Saturday, Sunday, and they're like, I already know how to do these moves, but anybody, if you're relentless enough, can do a move better, more close to perfect. So there is always room for improvement, and there is always room for better understanding, because in this fundamental course we went into detail, and probably they heard things about the moves that they already did, and it made more sense to them, like with a bit more detailed background story on the why, and why does the balance need to be in the middle of the foot, and why can't I squat under 90 because my ankles are stiff, like to give them a little bit of that extra.
I remember in that period that everybody should go through the fundamental course. At least until the pandemic, everybody was coming through the fundamentals.
Yeah.
So basically, after we finished the onboarding of the actual community that was training with us outside, we started to do it monthly on a regular basis for years, the fundamental course. And we were doing 3 times a week. And I remember we were doing it at the end of the schedule, like 8 to 9:30, because it would give us the opportunity to go over the program a bit, because the volume of information we wanted to give out was huge, and we were very relentless. I remember that we wouldn't give in for a for a movement that was not at the standard. For example, wall balls. If you weren't being able to touch the second or the first target, we would have insisted and find you a way to do that. We weren't getting satisfied with half of the work.
No.
Now it's a bit more different, but I remember back then we were like on the spot and doing it for such a long time. At the beginning it was just me and you, and we were doing like for 1 year. We did just the two of us. And I think that got us a very strong base of the fundamentals. So we were really knowing, like the L3s are now giving the L1 seminars. We were knowing that the base structure.
We were running very smooth through it, because you repeated yourself so often. I think we did, if you do like every 6 weeks a course like that, and you're repeating the same basics to people, then it's you know it very in depth.
And this was just for 1 year. After 1 year, we were starting to modify a bit the program. Do you remember the main problems or main issues with the fundamental course back then?
I think one was the rigidity of the hour and the days, that we would lose people because they couldn't make it on a certain day or on a certain hour. The other thing was that the start date was unflexible. It's 1st of January, then it's gonna be middle of February, not before, not after. And we didn't have a very good system on recruiting people, because I remember that we would have people that would wait 2 fundamentals courses before they catch a spot, because we didn't want to do multiple fundamentals in a row, because we also didn't want to overcrowd our classes with too much new people. But then we had situations where we would write the people that were interested, 30 people, like, at 5 o'clock on Thursday at Berrerie, you can personally sign in to secure your spot. And there would be 25 people in a row, and at number 14, I would say, okay,
that's it.
It's still here, we're full.
Yeah.
see you next time, and they stand there for an hour waiting. So that was very frustrating for them. So we lost some people doing that. We changed that.
So the strict schedule, the rigidity of the timeline that we were starting it, I would say the length of it.
Yeah. Some
6
people
weeks
didn't
is
want to
a
commit
lot.
for.
And it's not just the commit, it's the lack of flexibility schedule-wise. So in 6 weeks, I would expect for me to book my own classes where I want to go. I cannot book for an entire month and a half at 8 o'clock because something might happen, and many times it did. And yeah, it was pretty weird. So that's what I'm saying. So we were trying to modify a bit and make it better. We were trying to improve it. And I remember the first time we were just playing with the length and then the volume of the movement, and then the other processes where we saw that it was opportunity to grow.
What did we do? We did 12 sessions. We had a period where we did 8 sessions.
Yeah, so from 6 weeks we jumped to 4, and then from 4 we jumped to 2 of 6,
Yeah.
and then 2 of just joining regular classes. So in time, in like 4, 5 years, 6 years, that we just modified as much as we can, and from those 12 9 fundamental movements and the rest of them, we just compressed them into just a few important for us that we are constantly doing. For example, we dropped. I don't remember exactly, but the sumo del
for
hyper
example,
we
for
dropped for because it was complicated. It was coordination to the fullest, like we do the snatch.
Yeah.
So that was dragging all of our energy and the
It was
flow.
discouraging people also.
Yeah, of
like
course.
they weren't. The goal of intro course is to empower you, and that you feel like things are moving, not to discourage you like I can't do it. No.
Yeah, so just imagine people coming from triathlons and athletes, they were saying that athletes coming and we're doing sumo deadlift hyper, and they were like inadequate. They were off rhythm, coordination zero, out of their pool, and they were getting frustrated. But yeah, that's a lesson. This sport humbles you, and if it doesn't humble you, it will humble you
Eventually. Humbles us
Yeah.
all.
So let's say I'm interested. It's 2016. What was my journey back then? If I was wanting to come to fundamentals, do you remember?
Yeah, I think they contacted us, we put them on a list, and then we told them to come in personally to sign up and secure their spot, something like that, right? That's why they were standing in line outside the door, because they weren't automatically in because they showed interest.
I think back to like the first few times that we did it after we converted the community to the normal classes was a friend of a friend wanted to come. Where do you start the fundamentals? We would have tell the member 1st of February. Tell your friend it's the 1st of February at 8 o'clock. Tell him to come over then. And then we did this with maybe 20 people, and then whoever came in that day and paid, it was in. I don't remember we did list from the start. Only then we were writing their names when they enter. This is how I remember.
Could be.
And how you say it, when number 18, because we have 16 or 18 groups, because we were the both of us. When number 18 was in our front, we were looking at the door, and even if there were 4 or 5 or even more on the stairs, we just said, look, it's full, you're going to be for the next month. And of course people were outraged. They waited for half an hour, and they were thinking they were going to start, and we just refused them. So that was very unprofessional, but we got away with it because it was 2016. Nobody knew how the service market was back then.
We were the only ones, so if you wanted to do CrossFit, you had to come.
And then we learned. We didn't want to make these situations again, but slowly we made lists, and then we were telling them to come and pay for the spot, so they secure it. And we got rid of that waiting in the hallway, and that was really good for a while. Yeah, so where are we? So yeah, and after 6 weeks, if you finished and wanted to join, you were you're happy to join, yeah.
You just make a membership then, yeah. After those 6 weeks, you figure it out if our style fits a bit with yours, because it's not just about a fundamentals course is not just about getting you ready for getting to the normal classes. It's also to learn a little bit our style, to learn what CrossFit is, to get a bit more of an in-depth explanation on what is CrossFit and what are we going to do later. But also for a lot of people it will be the first time that they will be actually coached. So the fundamentals course is a little bit of a buffer to see if this is for you to be coached, because there are so many moves, and to keep you safe we want you to move as good as possible, and to move as good as possible a coach will have to give you cues to change things in your movement to move better. If this is not for you, being coached is not negotiable. So it can be that you don't like it, then that fundamentals coach will already give you the knowledge that, like, no, this is not for me. I don't think this group class and being coached, and it doesn't make me feel good. Some people have that. I better train alone like I did before. So it's a bit of a buffer. So it's not only about preparing you, it's mainly about preparing you, but also, are we a good fit? Is this environment and how we do things a good fit? The main thing, of course, is also, if I didn't work out for years, maybe I'm overweight, throwing you in a normal class, it's not a good idea. The intensity that you're going to feel there is going to give you so much muscle pain, you might not come back. So the fundamentals course, intro course, it will give you step per step. We're going to, maybe in week 1, the cardio part will be 12 minutes. In week 4, we will build you up to maybe a 30-minute cardio session, not go into class and it's directly a 30-minute AMRAP. It's not a good idea if you have been sitting on the couch for 2 weeks. So in 12 sessions, we could build you up slowly towards intensity. So it's also to keep people safe and to have a bit of a slow build-up. If you start running, you don't do 4 sessions of 10 kilometers in the first week. So you need to give your body a bit of time to adapt to it. And throwing people in a regular class, it puts a lot of stress on the coach of that class. We're doing group classes where we learn new things. Everybody knows a bit the basics. You still get coached because nobody moves perfect, so you still get adjustments on your movement. But if somebody completely new from the street just walks in, gets thrown into a class, has never had the barbell in the front rack, what's going to happen is this session, it's 1 on 14, one coach, 14 people. This session is going to turn into a one-on-one because the coach is going to have to stay with the new person because it's completely new to our culture, how the movements are, how it is to be coached. It's going to be overwhelming to be just thrown in there. So stress on the coach, but also stress on the person. Doesn't know anybody there. The moves are new and he's going to feel like, I'm not ready for this. Especially if you're new to sports, you're going to feel that I'm not ready for this. That's why the fundamentals course is a nice build-up also from that point of view. You're there in a group with all people that are new to this. So when you're going to enter the normal classes, you're going to see some of these people back. You were with 14, 16 or 18 people in your fundamentals course. You're going to see some familiar faces. It's not going to be so weird to go into a regular class because we've all been there walking into a new gym. Even if you're already in shape, it's a bit awkward. You're the new guy. You don't know anybody, you don't know how things work here. So imagine somebody that sits on the couch for a couple of years, never did sports perhaps, and then you're going to throw them into a space where these guys with no shirt on, girls doing pull-ups, people moving, in your opinion, like these extreme heavy weights, although it's not, they just got used to it. But for you, it's like from 0 to 100. So we want to avoid that. So that's why in a lot of cases it's best to pass through an intro course before you do this new sport.
Yes, we try to accommodate people and have small wins with them so they are happy to come back again and try more and more and more workouts.
I had in one of the Go reviews, somebody asked me because she had the impression that the fundamentals course was going to teach her everything she needed to know, and she asked me why we don't incorporate Olympic lifts in the fundamentals.
What was your answer to that?
I told her that Olympic lifts are they're complex movements, and like you just said, we want to give people small wins. And if I'm gonna start in the beginning of your journey, in the first week or the first 2 weeks, I'm gonna give you an hour of snatches or cleans, it's gonna be frustrating. And I want people to walk out the fundamentals course with a feeling of accomplishment. They learn me something. In the beginning of the hour, I was not so good at it, but by the end of the hour, it looked pretty good. It looked pretty decent, not perfect, but pretty decent. I understood what they wanted from me with that movement. With the snatch and the clean, no chance. I don't want to frustrate people with these moves. I will introduce them in the class slowly with drills where we will break the main move in small parts, and then over months they will start getting used to them with PVC or empty barbell. I don't think there is a need for it in the fundamentals yet. They're beneficial for sure because it's full body movement, explosivity, power. They're beneficial, but I don't think this should be in your first month of getting to know CrossFit. I don't think it's necessary.
I think I would have answered pretty similar. I would have told her that in the fundamental course or intro course, we are doing the base. We are building a base. These are higher in hierarchy in movement patterns. So why would we try to do something this complicated from the start? We need to go low level and then build on top. We can put you to make explosive movements from the hip if you don't know how to deadlift properly.
Yeah, and I know patience, it's low these days in people. I've seen many people that when they don't catch a movement directly from the start, they get frustrated. Somehow, like their ego gets hurt because they're not a natural talent in something. And part of CrossFit is also to be willing to not be good at something and to be willing to put the time into something to later benefit when you can do the move and then see the results from it. And that's with snatches, that's with toes to bar, that's with double unders. There is learning curves to many of the moves you do, and the ones that I just named, these are not basic movements, so I cannot give you small wins on these type of movements because I know it takes a bit, and I want people to come out of the class with a smile, not to be frustrated. But we do learn things, like for example, we will learn the snatch, which will be an extension and then into a pull. A kettlebell swing that is in the foundational movements, when we teach them, it will help you learn how to extend and push the floor. An overhead squat will make you feel what it is to be in the bottom of a snatch. A sumo deadlift high pull, like I said before, will learn you to extend first before pulling the arm. So we do movements that will help in the more complex movements later. That's why it's foundational movements. You get a base on which more complex movements will build on. So it takes time. That's why certain moves will help you learn the more difficult moves. That's why we put them in our fundamentals course.
Exactly. So let's go back a bit to the fundamental course and to this day. So we used to do group fundamentals, 16 or 18 people, 2 coaches in the same time, 6 weeks or 4 weeks, and then they were going to the regular classes. We did this for a long time, 6 to 7 years, and then we switched. We switched now to the intro course. So how does that look now?
The intro course, it's a one-on-one. So you're one-on-one with a coach. You'll have 10 sessions, of which 8 with your coach. And then in week 3 and 4, so it's 2 times a week. And in week 3 and 4, you will have 3 sessions. But one of the sessions will be in the regular class, so you get already an exposure on how will the class be like. And your coach will also already go through, let's say you go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. On the Monday or the Wednesday, they will check with you which day you will be going to the regular class and look a little bit what's in that class. So if there is any movements that we didn't go through in the last 2 weeks, They will practice a bit with you. So when you walk into class, you will know perfectly what's going to happen there. It's not going to be a surprise. So we're trying to prepare you.
So to build a bit of context, we switched from the group classes because of all the reasons we said earlier, rigidity, time, and flexibility. So people were not being able to come at a certain place at a certain hour. The groups were getting smaller and smaller. We were still putting a lot of effort into the logistics, so 2 coaches all the time, doesn't matter how many people were there. And slowly we turn it into one-on-one for the in-person experience. We want to build from the start such a good base that you will have no problem getting in the classes. Because I remember back in the days, people still had struggles when they were finishing the 4 weeks and then getting into a classes, because it was a big difference. Their group that they just got to meet, people that they just got to be friends with, all of a sudden, pop, that bubble burst, and they were on with the real sharks, with the real people, and with different movements. And they were falling off like that also. So now in the one-on-one, we try to get them as comfortable as they can in these 4 weeks. We show them where the materials are, we make them, we present them a few coaches, a few clients, so they are more and more blending into the scenario. So after you finish the 4 weeks, you're gonna be good. And if you don't, we still have another step, an intermediate step. We call it the adaptation phase. If you want, we can do another month of workouts from classes that are adjusted to your certain level. So I think this is a really good thing to have it in mind. And all this is because 2016 versus 2024, the beginning of the sport versus now the sport, now everybody thinks like it's natural and normal to combine running with some lifting. Functional training isn't anything any more odd than any sport you're doing now. But back then, getting somebody from the bicep curls to the thruster was something out of this world.
I think another big difference, of course, is that if you do a group class with 2 coaches on 16, obviously the attention you'll get will be way less. One coach needs to look at 8 people, the other coach looks at the other 8 people. But if I'm now going to put you through 8 hours with a one-on-one coach, every move you make he will see, so you'll have the full attention. So these people, obviously, they come into class much more prepared than when they were in a bigger group class when we were teaching them the foundational movements.
Yeah, I remember we were doing warm-up, and then we have a big chunk of showing the movements. If you have 2 movements, we're having 15 minutes per movement. And you were taking care of half of the room, I was taking care of half of the room, and then we were just going from there, and then we switch, and then we see if there was somebody, the oddball, that there was one person that was moving very poorly in the group. We would get him out and try to do something with him. But also that is wasn't really good, because that person would feel like, oh, I'm an oddball, and all the negative self-talk would come out. And back then we didn't know any of this shit. But with the coach now, he's gonna adjust everything according to your fitness. You won't pass forward in the class, in the fundamental, in the intro course, if you didn't succeed in doing the necessary movement.
Yeah, and if you don't feel ready yet, then we continue for another month. We practice a bit more under supervision of a coach. You let your cardio build a little bit longer, and then you can transition into class.
And I think it's a nice way of connecting with the coach from the start. When you enter a class and you have, let's just say, you walked inside the gym, just go ahead, the coach presents himself and does that. But just think, if you had 4 weeks with that coach earlier and you enter the class, you will be, oh, this is my homie, I know him, he's my coach, he will help me get very good at this sport and help me through the workout.
You build a relationship with him,
Exactly.
You build trust into him, and he knows you, he knows your weaknesses, he knows your strengths, so he can coach you even better in the classes, because he's had you one-on-one for at least 8 hours.
So 4 weeks, 8 sessions plus 2 in the classes, right?
Yep.
Slowly showing them the intensity, lower at the start, more at the end of the course, and then we have the intermediate phase of adapting into classes. So what's the process now? Let's say I want to join your gym tomorrow or in the next week. What are the steps? What is the process? How do we get in touch with them?
You get in touch with them on the phone, so you can have a bit of conversation and see a little bit background and advise people a little bit in what direction to go. There can be two ways, or you come in for an assessment class where we will let you do a regular class. We pick one, the coach there assesses you, perhaps does a couple of more extra movements after the class, like some deadlifts, some presses, some kettlebell swings, not necessarily to see if you can do them perfectly, but just to see how easy you catch moves that may be not familiar to you, or how easy you make a correction when I give you a cue on hips back, knees forward, extend harder, to know how coachable you are. Because the more coachable you are, the easier I can incorporate you directly in class. This is usually for people that already have a sports background and already doing something now, they're active. Then you have the other case of the people that are, through the talk, we feel that they've been inactive for a while, or maybe perhaps they never did sports, or they have I have a back problem, or I have a herniated disc. And then we guide them more to the intro course, so we can have a bit of one-on-one time with them, and then see a little bit if we can prep them in that first month for class, or if not, maybe in 2 months.
Yeah, so there are two types of people: the people that move constantly, and the people that are in a break for a long time or for some health reasons, who knows. So if you want to join tomorrow, you will definitely get into a call with me. Doesn't matter if you were referred or come in through the site. You will get a phone call, usually from the salesperson, that's actually me now, and we're gonna establish a meeting so I can see you face to face and show you the gym, because still many people didn't saw us and don't know that we don't have those cable machines. So I want to get them in, see the place, see some coaches, and talk to them a bit. And usually that helps me a lot when I see them, to assess them which way they're gonna go. 85% of the time I advise them to take the ABC way, so you learn the basics intro course. But if that's not an option, and if that's still a strict schedule, the evaluation / assessment will be an option. But I try to get them in class to an experienced coach, and then just test out their coachability and coordination. This is what we look at, not at performance.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you did sports but you never, I've had people, they play football their entire life but they never did strength training, they could still be a good candidate, because perhaps they have never been taught how to squat properly, they never had the barbell in the front rack, they never did a back squat with weight or a deadlift. So no matter if you're sporty, doesn't mean automatically I would advise you to go into the regular classes. It depends a bit what type of sport you did and if you actually did some strength training before. But yeah, we can always go into an assessment for cases like that. But people that have been inactive for a long time, I think they should always be a candidate, because then we can have a slow build up and I can assess and I can change the workout day to day according to your needs and your weaknesses and your strengths. So I can control it better when we're one-on-one than when I have you in class. I can also control it, but then again I also have to manage the other 13 people in class, not just you.
Yeah. So how we are now is not just one way. We have multiple ways of coming in, but usually it starts with a talk.
Yeah.
It starts with a talk because there can be multiple reasons why you can't do the intro course. If you can't afford it, if you can come to that certain hour, if ... You have multiple excuses. So basically, we just need to see you, talk to you, and then we can make your journey, because CrossFit is for everyone. So we try to do this as much as possible, but of course we always like it more structured and organized to get them through the basics. So we make sure they will have a good experience, a long experience, without any unfortunate experiences such as an injury.
Yep. We used to be more black and white. Back in the days, it was you do the course or you don't come in.
Yes, I
And if
remember.
you had whatever reason you had, okay, it's not for you. When you have time and you want to make time to come Monday, Wednesday, Friday, let me know. Until then, so yeah, we change our ways a bit because yeah, you get older, you get more understanding, and it's not black and white life. Sometimes they have really good reasons why they wouldn't be able to make it, but we give them options to accommodate to their needs, because I still don't think it's a good idea if you're fully out of shape to directly go into class. So in most cases they do get into an intro course, but then on the hours that they can, maybe it's 9 o'clock, maybe it's 2 o'clock in the lunch, maybe it's 4 o'clock, maybe it's 7 o'clock in the evening, whatever fits you. It's only 8 sessions in the end, so you can adjust a little bit and you will have a better customer journey towards the classes by doing so. It will be an easier transition, both physically and mentally, instead of directly being dropped into class.
Our purpose here is to get you fitter, get you into the gym. We don't want to build walls or keep the barrier closed. We want to get you inside the gym, but we also want to do it our way. Not that it's the best way, but it's the safe way that we are trying to do it. But still, again, we try to get you inside and then we can see from then where we go to. Okay, so that's it for today. If you have any questions about the intro course, please write us an email at info@smartmovecrossfit.ro or shoot us a message on Instagram at smartmovecrossfit. If you want to find out more about the two of us, you can find our details into the show notes. Thank you for listening and we'll see you on the next one.